Alright. Okay. So I went in and I went ahead and fixed everything and got everything done. And I changed all the values to the original game values that we have in the game. And so as you see, now we're loading all or you will see eventually, that we're loading all the game items into the game. And see, now we got our inventory back. No quest because I haven't done it yet, but that's not part of the in the database yet. That's still reading from the XML file. And then of course the recipe, that is loaded from the database. And now we've crafted one. Now, oh, we need more items to craft another. And then we got our weapons. So all our weapons are back in the game. All our game items are back in the game too. So that's good. That's what we need. Okay, so we learned from our mistakes. Well, I learned from my mistake, and this is all been completed. So let's go ahead and do the location. Now let's look at the location and kind of examine it a little bit here. Okay, in the locations, we have an X coordinate and a Y coordinate. We've got a name and an image name. We also have a description, which is from here to here. The monster ID, and then the percentage, which we'll get to in a minute. Anyway, so let's load this up in the World Factory, where everything's loaded into. And this is where we get all the values for the current world. I haven't actually implemented the XML side of it yet, so we're still just pulling in from hard coding. So we'll just go straight from the hard coding to the database. And so it's really simple this time. So let's do this. Okay, so we're going to create a table. Oh wait, nope. Getting ahead of myself here. So let's create an entity. This entity we're going to call table world locations. And we're going to start off with a row ID, and it's going to be the location ID. It's going to be integer primary key. And then coordinate X, that's an integer. And then coordinate, try and keep it spelled the same, coordinate Y, and that's going to be an integer. And what else do we have to deal with here? There we go. Alright, we've got the XY coordinates, and we need the description. This will be the description here, or the location name is what I believe I named it. Let's go. What did I name it? Yeah, just name. And then we also have an image that I know you can't see it, but there is an image. And maybe that's why they're not showing. Let me see. No, they are. Okay, so I got them loaded here as well. Okay, but nonetheless, that's that. We'll store that in the database as well. Why not, right? If we can, we'll see, because we might just store the name and then store the location of it in the hard code the location of it, and then store the name of the file, so we can just add, change, and modify names here. and it'll always load whatever picture we specify by the location we specify, name and location. So we'll be good. So we need a name, a description, and an image ID. So let's go to our Visio, and let's add in some more values here. The ones that I done forgot and told you about, but that's okay. So we're going to go with a location name, and then we're going to go with location description, and then the image name. And the only reason I'm not loading the pictures up directly is because I don't know how to. I can load a picture through a program and items through programs, and that's not a problem whatsoever for me. The problem I have is loading it in from the GUI or from import export. I'm not 100% sure how to really do that, so we'll just keep it in this form. Trust me when I say I don't claim to know everything. I'm still learning, but I'm trying to practice on being use my brain more than I use paper, and that's why I'm doing it this way. I'm so used to doing it on paper that it doesn't work so well. So we'll move it over here. We're going to name it Table World Locations. And we're going to start with the location ID. It's going to be integer, not null, primary key. Okay, and I've already explained the identity to you. There we go. Coordinate X is an integer. Coordinate Y is an integer. Location name is varchar. We'll do 150. No, we don't need 150 here. Let's do 35 here. We'll do 150 on the location description. And then the image name, this one we can do the varchar 75, just in case we have one that really has there we go. Let's get this out of the way so we got a little bit wider of a thing to work here. Okay, so, oops, wrong button. There we go. So let's just take all these here. Let's copy these. Down here. So we start with coordinate X, coordinate Y. Now remember, we can't put the asterisk because the asterisk specifies string values, and there's a way around it, but it really right now I'm not too worried about the syntax. And then we're going to go with the description, and then the file, the image name. And so this one's done. Okay, this we're not going to do right now. That's add monsters to the different locations. We'll get to that later. So what we're going to do is, let me copy this. We're going to paste it here. And then let's add this stuff to it, all these other items. I wish I could say I'll be right back in a second when I get done, but since this is live streaming, you're going to have to sit here with me and deal with sitting here watching me, type all this stuff in. Because if we don't get it in, we don't get our world, right? And then here we got 0. Oh, I wonder if it'll take a -0. This is our home. And this is our home. So see, it shouldn't take too long. I can shortcut some parts of it. Let's bring it up some. So here we got -1, 0. There's our trading shop. And then Susan the trader. Huh, I forgot the description. No. Oh, that's what I did wrong. Okay. Wrong spot. That's a bad thing about copying and pasting, is you can get things wrong pretty easy, pretty quick, if you ain't careful and remember to do everything. So I'm going to forget something and something's going to mess up. I'm sure of it. That's okay. We'll fix it. It's just part of the process of doing it. And we'll add the town gate. And then we'll do the description. And then the picture. We can't forget the name. Make sure we get the name in here. There we go. Well, we're almost there. We're getting close. So hang in there. I just think I got 1 or 2 more to go. Let me remove the asterisk. Okay. And I've already see a few things where we'll have to change this later, but that's okay. That was for quests, and then we got 1 more, and that's the herbalist garden. But just like everything else, even though the asterisk is a pain in the butt to work with here, no matter what, if you got any type of special formatting that you're using with any file, whether it's XML, JSON, uh, minus a flat file, but there's always characters that it doesn't like you to use. So it's not just this that has the issue with it. Alright, let's go ahead and insert the values. Where do we mess up? Herbalist Garden. Oh. There we go. So let's go and double check our tables here. Refresh. And now we got our world locations. Let's select top 1,000 rows. We have 9 rows. There's all of our locations, location names, descriptions, and the image. And we're only doing this on the image just because that's, yeah. The image itself is actually stored here in the image files. You see there's the farm fields, farmhouse. I mean, it's pretty basic drawings. So you don't have to, that don't even really look like a rat, does it? But anyways, so let's press on with this one. Now we got to come in after New World, and the reason we come in after New World is because we have we got to instantiate this, and then here we can say the data table dt is equal to database game data dot database dot return data. We've already been through this before. There's not going to be any, in this situation, there's not going to be anything to send other than the stored procedure names. So the stored procedure, get world locations, and then new string, send an empty string array for the parameter and the values. And I took out the connection name since I programmed it directly into it, which that's neither here nor there. We'll deal with that later, and that's for a future update. So now I'm going to comment all this out. Well, most of it. Alright, let's see, like adding a monster. We'll move that down here. And then trader, move it down here. So we got monsters, add traders, add monsters. This is just to keep me in line on where to put things. So we'll comment that line out. This is a quest. So let's add the quest. Here. And then trader. Oops. I didn't grab the whole thing. We'll put it all on one line just to make readability a little easier. Okay, let's add monsters to the monster section. And we can comment these out and take Susan Let's add her to the traders. And then the rest of these could be commented out. Alright, so as of right now, we don't have any locations in the system. We've got to get them out of the system. Alright, and this is just the same scenario that we did earlier. We could do a for each, and this is going to be a data row. And then we'll just call it row here. It's very easy. So we do new world dot add location, and these will add the locations in. We got to keep it in the same syntax. We got to do the x coordinate, y coordinate, the name, the description, and the image name. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to come over here and create a new stored procedure like we did earlier. Stored procedure, new stored procedure, and we've already specified a name that we want to use, which is get world locations. So we'll place that in here, and because this is we're just grabbing it from here, we will leave it at that. Okay, but here we need to select from world locations. I don't like that. Why doesn't it like that? It should. But let me make table, because I forgot table. TBL. There we go. Oh boy. Here we go again. Okay. Rename, Control C, Control V. Okay, so now I know it's right. We'll go to Edit, IntelliSense, refresh local cache. Okay, there it goes. Alright, now what we need is we need to bring in all the values that we have in our add location. So we go to the X coordinate, the Y coordinate, we do the name, and then the description, and then last is the image name. Okay, so let's double check. Okay, we have X, Y location, location description, image name. Okay, so that matches. Let's go ahead and create it. So now we got our stored procedure created. And then here we're going to do row dot, well, this is expecting what, an integer? Yes, so the first two are integers, so we need to make sure that we convert this, convert to int 32. And I guess I spelled convert wrong, or I don't have the thing, and I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the first row. There it is. Okay. There we go. Now we'll copy it. Just copy this. Place it here. And this will be 1. We'll drop it down to the next line. And we don't, the rest are strings, so we don't need to worry about did I forget something? Yes, I did. That's what I forgot. There we go. And, oh, I see what I did. I grabbed it too early. Okay, so what this is going to do, this is going to add in all the locations that we have in the database now. This is going to grab this, so let's do this different because we don't want to try and load an empty data set, right? So now that we actually have it working, let's go instantiate it into a new data table. I don't even know if that's the right word. I think it is. And then we're going to say if, and then we'll come over here, put another one, and then is equal or not equal to null. We'll do this. And we'll leave these out here because these are not yet implemented into the database yet. And we'll have to implement that into the database later, which there's a really cool option. We can actually return a data set, and this is later down the road. But for right now, we can return a data set. What a data set does is it gives us an option to where we could essentially just return everything at one time in separate tables. We can do the inventory, we can do the locations, we can do monsters, we can do items, and we can do them all at one time, but store them all in a separate table, and then assign what we need to there, part of the loading process and what have you. But I think, based off what I learned from the last episode earlier today, trying to do this, I think this should work just fine. Should not have no problems, but should not, could not, and it always does. So we'll see. And there it goes, return null. Because we got 9 locations. Why is the add monster not working? Let's check it out. We'll start over from here. Oh, okay, maybe we won't. Let me reboot it here. Or breakpoint it here, so we catch the breakpoint here. As soon as it gets done. I don't know why the dog's barking. Okay, so it's not. Okay, let's check the location. New world. Count equals 1. Description. Monsters here 0, so no monsters, no quests, no trader, and the. Oh, why is the name -2? The name should not be -2. Oh, well, okay. So, and like I said earlier, copy paste is not the greatest thing to be doing because you can forget stuff like I just did. Now it should run. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay, it's still not going to run. So, is there not a location 02? We'll just have to look. There's 2, 1. Oops. There's 1, 1. 0, 1. -1, 0. 0, 0. 1, 0. What do we look at? 0, 2 is what we're looking at. There's 2, 0. 0, 1. 0, 1. So I am not seeing 0, 2 in the list. And that's because I did not add a 0, 2 into the list. Oh, that's because it's that. Okay, so that's another typo I made. And we're going to set coordinate y equal to, or nope, that's coordinate x, ain't it? Equal to 2, comma, coordinate y equal to 0, right? No, that's 0, 2. I was looking at the wrong one. 0, 2 is where we're going. And this is going to be where the location name is equal to this. Just like that. That should fix it. Now we'll just start this function over. Okay. We'll just restart the program compiler over. It works for me too. And hopefully this time we won't get that error. And we didn't, so it loaded. So that's what the problem was, is the coordinate system was off. Alright, let's check. Herbalist hut, herbalist garden. There's a monster there, so we got the monster there. We'll go to the home. West is the farmer's house. North is the trading shop. And then we got the farmer's field. Then we should have the gate. And then we got the spider forest. Still got our items. Still got our healing items. Got the quest. Got the recipes. Let's go hit a couple things to make sure we're taking damage and hitting damage. Alright, so everything seems to be continue working. And now we've got our database system. And this is just going to make it so much easier to add items into the game. And what makes it so much easier is because with it in a database, you can create tools that make it so much easier to add and modify game items. So if you wanted to add a new location, if you wanted to add new items, you could just build a quick, simple, easy program that'll insert it into the database. I mean, I could always do it this way, but sometimes it's just easier to do it, differently. Do it with a tool, use an actual tool than, I mean, you could take a drill bit and spin it with your hand and eventually make it through the wood, or you can grab a drill and just drill through it. I mean, one's more efficient than the other. Can be done either way, but definitely not recommended. So that just goes into that. All right. So the next steps, and this time I think I'm gonna work on it, is I think we can go ahead and add new monsters. We can add the monsters to the database. And so to add the monsters to the database, we need to go to the factories. Go to the monster factory, and here you have each monster. Then you have the current equipable weapon, and then you have the items that the monster can drop. And so we can convert this all into tables, and if you look at it, well, we create a monster table, alright, and similar to the other table, the world table, we can provide a name, and we can provide an image name, and we can provide these values. Here we can create a secondary table and create a foreign key from this table to this table that will specify, well, no, let me back that up, from this table to this table, and these will be the drop items, and they'll simply be, because there's multiple of them, as one while we're doing it, because we don't want multiple. You don't want a monster listed multiple times, because in the end you're only going to have one type of drop. And so you don't want that. What you can do is you can create another table and link it here. Well, not here, but imagine this is listing out the attributes like in the insert statement here. You could just add in here a foreign key to relate to this table directly, and we will probably use the monster ID that we create to reference the loot items that the monster can have. Don't At this time, I don't suspect it having more than one weapon item, but maybe in the future we can give the monster some armor and other things of that nature. We may want to be able to drop some of that armor, like maybe they got some rubber boots. I don't know why a snake would have rubber boots, but just in case he does, we want to be able to add it to the drop list. So that's ways to consider. So let's take a look at that. How long have I been recording for? It's 7:30. Let me see here. 36 minutes. Alright, I think we could go a little bit longer and be okay. So let's go ahead and start designing this. We'll move this over on this side of the screen so that we can see what's going on. Alright, just like I told you, we'll start here. We'll build a table, monsters, and then we're going to have a monster ID. Let's add some attributes here. Go ahead and just add a bunch of them. I'm not even counting them. I'm just adding, because it makes no difference to me. It's easier to delete than it is to continue trying to add. Okay, so now that we have plenty, let's start off. We got the monster ID. Let's go with the monster name. Oops. Wrong application. Alright, monster name. And then we're going to go with image name. And then let's go with maximum hit points. We'll just do maximum HP, followed by the current HP. Well, we don't need current HP, because the current HP will always be matched on initial load. It'll always be matched to the maximum. So that's an easy setup there. Okay, and we do the XP, and then gold drop. And then we can do here, we could do an item drop. And that's going to be, like I said, that's going to be the foreign key to the monster drop table. And then we can do monster weapon. And that's also going to be an integer as well. Okay, so now we've got this foreign key here that we need to create a table for. And this is going to be pretty simple. We can say monster drop items. And then of course we got to have a real ID. Items ID. Now we're going to need, there's no point in actually putting anything more than a reference to the game items, because this already has all the values here. So matter of fact, we can drop, no, we didn't add no damage to this. Okay, just double checking. Alright, so we need to know the foreign key for the attribute, not the attribute name, that doesn't make no sense. Okay, I've lost track of thought here, bear with me. There we go. Okay, what was I doing? Let's see here. Okay, so we got to add a loot item. It's got to be monster. It's got to be an item ID and the percentage that it drops. So we do here, we do the well, we've got the monster ID here, which will be related here, so we don't need that. This is this isn't gonna work very well. So we'll change this to game item ID just to show in the name. There we go. And then here, oh, that's not going to work either. Okay, so let's see here. Let's try and figure this out. Okay, because I got to come up with a good name for the primary key. Now we got an item drop. There we go. Drop ID. And that's going to relate to this. These two. Or we could just name it after that. No, we can't. We'll just do drop ID. And that'll be there we go. Now we're starting to get somewhere. And we'll relate it to the game ID. What other values? Drop rate. And then what else do we need? That's it. We just got the monster, the item, and the drop rate. Just those three fields is all we need right now. And so we're going to draw in the relationships. The monster or the item drop is going to be a 1 ratio. You're going to have one monster in the system that's going to drop multiple items. So you're going to want one-to-many relationship here. That way it gets that. And then we also have another relationship here. Now here we've got one item ID to this ID. It's going to be kind of a many-to-many relationship because you're going to have many of these game items to many of these drop items. It's not a one-to-one or one-to-many or many-to-one scenario. And there we go, just like that. Let's change this up, and the begin symbol is 0 or more, and the end symbol is 0 or more. So now they're both set up as many-to-many. And it's good to know these things. And if you're not real familiar with database systems and the relationships and all that stuff, it is good to know what the relationship is. How you set it up and how you determine what to do and how you move forward comes down really to the relationship type. That way you know which way is it going, which way is it coming, what to expect from it. But we're not going to go into that right now. We're going to go into a new query window, and we're still using the same table database, so we'll stay here. And so we're going to create a new table. And then we start off with monster ID. This will be integer, not null, primary key, and that's all we're going to specify for it at the moment for right now. We'll worry about that later. Okay, and then the monster name, that's going to be a varchar. We'll try and keep it under 50 at the max. And then we got to have an image name. We'll also keep that as a varchar, try to keep it under 50 max, which is going to be way more than normal. And it's going to be an integer. The monster XP is going to be an integer. The gold drop is also going to be an integer. The item drop, however, is going to be a foreign key. And yeah, let's try this again. The item drop is going to be an integer, but it's going to be a foreign key, and it's going to reference the table monster drop items, and it's going to reference the field item drop ID. And we'll move right along. That's going to stay like that for now because we haven't created that table yet. And then monster weapon. What was that? What was the monster weapon? Oh, this I think we were going to relate to this table here. No, that's no. We're going to relate this to that table. How did I miss that one? And this is going to be a 1-to-1 ratio. I mean, really, how many weapons do you think a monster can really have at one time? I mean, it is a monster, after all. So we're going to do that, and we're going to change the relationship tile because it's going to be one and only one. And the end symbol is going to be one and only one. So now there we go. It's a 1-to-1 relationship. And we can always change it later. That's not a big problem. So we got the monster weapon. It's an integer. It's a foreign key. And this one's going to reference table game items. Item ID. Let me double check that. Yeah, item ID. And there it goes. Okay, and that's still there, so we need to create that table. Okay, so in this table, let's do the table monster. Well, let's start off with the right syntax. Table monster drop items. And then we're going to have the item drop ID. This is going to be an integer, not null, primary key. Now, you don't have to specify not null. I mean, when you specify an identity, it's kind of given it's not going to be null because it's going to auto-assign a value to it. So you really don't have to specify that. But I keep it in my habits to always specify whether it's null or not. Okay? And that, like I said, that's just me. That's just how I operate. Everybody's different, but anyways, game ID. It's going to be integer. It's going to be a foreign key. It's going to reference the table game ID on game items. item ID. And there we go. Now we got both tables where they will accept these values. So let's go ahead and create it. And they've been created. So let's go back to the game. And Monster Factory, why are you? Oh, because we just created the monsters. That would explain why. Okay. So we got a get monster function here that's being referenced. And this is a random number generator that determines whether or not a monster is going to get added. Go to definition. Oops. So I'm kind of backtracking through everything. So here we are getting a monster at a specified location. And so we're calling get monster function, which we just came back from. And this one goes back to the game sessions during the current location. And what it's doing is it's coming in here saying, hey, check to see if a monster exists. Here, does the monster exist? And so back in the monster factory, and that's why it gets the monster, because unlike we did in the item factory and the location factory, we're not keeping, we're not keeping all the monsters in memory at one time. What we're doing is we're going and saying, hey, does this monster exist at this location? And that's why in the world factory, we're saying, yes, at this location, there is a monster. So every time you hit these three things, there is a monster there. And that's where this is coming from. So back in the world factory, we're going to do the exact same thing. And like I said, we're gonna clean up the code and have the code do a lot better later. We're going to refactor it. We're going to do all the good things. Right now, I'm just trying to get everything moved to the database side that I can. Okay, so in order to have we have to add this. So let's take away this. And we're going to add the monster. And we'll get these from here. We'll do the row dot item array 0 dot. Now these are expecting integers, so we're going to have to convert it over to an int. Just like so. And we'll do that as well for this second value. So we'll come here, we'll change that 1 to here. And we'll do it for all the monsters. So that's why we're looping through. And this will be deprecated. And then here we're adding a monster, which is the monster ID and a chance of encountering. So we'll take the monster ID and we'll put that in. Oh, hold on. I've already made one mistake. Let's fix it real quick. Okay, and then this one, these are also integers. So let's take these values and we'll add, just hang in there, I know I'm getting way off screen here. There we go. Okay. And then this one's going to be, what do we got? 0, 1. So we'll make sure that we put the ID at 2, right? And the chance of encountering in slot 4 rather than 3. Put 3 in the numbers. And there we go. Now these are deprecated. They're no longer needed. Now if we did everything right, this should work. When SP get monster location. So that's not a problem there. And then just double checking everything here. Okay. So let's create the stored procedure for this now. And so we'll come over here to the programmability, new stored procedure. We've already figured out the stored procedure's name. So we'll simply add that here. This one will not need any variables either because this is initial loading, etc. So let's select. We'll start with a select all from monster. Hold on one second. I'm trying to think. I lost track of thought here. Table. Okay, so edit, IntelliSense, refresh. Table, monster. We'll just give it an alias of m dot, and then we need to start here at the location. So monster location. Oh, I did not add a monster location, did I? Uh-oh, I think I forgot something. Let me go back and review here. Let's see. Tables, refresh. Alright, monster, columns, monster ID, name, image. No, I didn't. Okay. So we'll have to do that real quick. And that's easy thing to do. So what I need to do is need to alter the table. Oop, and I'm typing exactly what I'm saying. Table, monster, and we're going to add a column, and we're going to call it location X. It's going to be integer. Completed, and then all we got to do is change this to a Y. And completed. Okay, so now we have monster locations, and the location points will be equal to these, although we're not going to create a relationship to it because we don't need to I guess per se know where the monsters are. We could just assign them and change them to wherever we choose for them to be. So we got location X and location Y. Alright, let's refresh our IntelliSense. Alright, now we should see our location X and location Y. Alright, and then we decided what? What did this say? Location X and location Y. Then we needed the monster ID, right? Monster ID and chance of encountering. So we'll come over here, monster ID, and then the chance of encounter. Did I not add that in? I guess not. Okay, so we got to do another one. I thought I did. Maybe I added it onto the location. Is that what I did? Did I add it onto the location? No. Could have sworn I did this before. Oh well. It's okay. Whatever I mess up today, I can fix tomorrow. And that's the good thing about this. You don't have to get it right on the first time. You just have to get it right eventually. All right. So what was I missing? I was missing the what was I missing? The encounter chance. And this is a whole number. Well, yeah, it's a whole number. I was debating on whether it was a decimal or not, but it's a whole number. If we look at here, it's a 2 and a 100, a 2 and a 100, etc. So let's refresh our IntelliSense. IntelliSense isn't, you don't have to, but it sure does help make it easier to get the naming right. Okay. So now that we've added all the locations, and now we're adding the monsters to the location. Let's go and look at our monster table. Let's view it, see what's in there. I don't think I've actually added anything to it, and that would be a big no. I have not added anything to it, and that's okay. We can do that right now. It's very simple because I only got 3 monsters. We're going to insert into oh, you know what? That's why. We can add the monsters to the location, but we're going to have to do more because I got the monster factory here. And like I said, I haven't added all this into it yet, but I will. This is what we need to be working on, and I don't know why. Not the item factory, the world factory here. So I don't know why I haven't added. I mean, we'll need the monsters because we've got, to add all this stuff in. And there's other attributes to the monsters that we're going to need. And this is, like I said, the loot items, the weapon. But anyways, let's I think I'm messing up here. Oh well, if I'm messing up, then I'm messing up, and we will figure it out later. Okay, so we've got all these values here. Oops. Sometimes this is also easier doing it this way. Then I could take this, copy it, and boom, I ain't got to type nothing. And if you don't like it in this format, you can always, draw up to a new line like such. Just to keep it on a single line if that's what you prefer. Makes no difference to me because it's just temporary. Alright, so we got a monster ID, and we'll start with the snake. And so the snake, let's see, what's the... Okay, there's the item ID, the percentage. So the snake is ID 1. Okay, so the snake is ID 1, and that's why the switch is switching it off of the monster ID, adding that single monster, because it only adds a single monster to a single location. It's not loading all the monster data in at one time. So that's something to take into consideration. So we've got one monster, and then what do we got next? The monster name is a snake. The image name is, oops. Keep forgetting the comma. And max hit points is 4. And we'll take care of this later. Maximum hit points monster XP is 5. And the monster drop is 1. Okay, that's the snake. Then we'll add in the rat. And this is and then we'll add in the giant spider. Just like so. The giant spider is definitely a lot more powerful. Okay. Now this is 2 and this is 3. Oh yes. I forgot. We got a lot more item things to go. This is just section 1. Now we got to add we don't have to add the loot item yet. But we will here eventually. What I need to do is I need to go to location. Let me unpin these two. Let me get the monster factory and the world factory pinpointed, and this way we can get the rest of the values from the game that we need. Yeah. So what do we got? We've got the monster ID of a rat. This is the rat because the monster ID is 1. Well, I wish there was like IntelliSense on this. So what we've got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, the item drop. Now the item drop we've got to insert into the item drop field still, and that's not a problem. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and switch these around in 1, 2, 3 order. That way they're sequential and easier for my brain to say, hey. Well, there we go. Okay. Sometimes it helps just to keep everything in complete order here. So let's move this over a little bit because we're on 6, or we stopped at 6. And now we got the item drop. And this one we'll come back to, I think. Yeah, we'll come back to the item drop. So the monster weapon. So we look at the monster weapon here that they get, which for the snake is 1501. And then the location, we'll go back to World Factory and get the location of the one. So that's 0 and 2. Location X, location Y, and the encounter chance is 100. Okay, going back to the rat. Okay, what comes after the 5? 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is the gold drop. So monster weapon for the rat, it's going to be 1502. Then the location X and Y for the rat is -2, -1. So -2, -1. And then the chance of encounter, I think is the next one. Yep, which is 100%. Alright. Now the giant spider, he has 1503 item. That's easy enough. And then what else do we need? Location, which the spider's at location 20, 20, and chance of encounter is 100%. And so we'll insert into there, but I want to do something a little different. I want to go ahead and do the item loot. And the relationship that we had for that was uh, game ID and the item drop ID. Wait, no, I think I got that backwards. Really think this don't need to be an identity, because so far we don't have any reference in this table here. We don't have no reference to this table in here. Now this is going to represent the where is it? Item drop. This is what's referencing this. But this is an identity. This is a row identity, and that means that every time one gets added, it's still going to limit the monster to just one, and that's not what we. It's not what we need. What we need is we can keep this here, and we can keep this here, but we need to add something else to this. And I'm just going to do it right here in this. It's going to be a separate. Oh goodness, I guess I kicked my tab, or my caps lock, sorry. And we're going to add a monster ID. And it's going to be integer, and we're going to set it to not null. You always have to require a value be input, and we'll take that. Now this this is going to reference this, and we can add that constraint manually. There's two ways, and this is good that this happened, because I wanted to show you earlier between shots. I wanted to show you that there was a difference between them, and a couple ways to go on about it. Because now we got to add a constraint. If I can spell, and then we're going to add a foreign key. Hold on. Alter table, table monster drop items, add constraint, foreign key, references. Here we gotta specify it. Monster ID. I'm getting this all kookled up. And references. What does it reference? Table monster ID. Okay. And this is one way to do it. Okay. Another way that you can do this is, let's refresh our tables. And we've already created this, so this already exists. Now we can create a relationship here using the Object Explorer, going into drop items. Oops, wrong button. Or wrong click, I guess. Design mode. You take the monster ID and you can set it okay, I'm not familiar with doing it. Relationships, and you can add a relationship. And then tables and specifications, you can come over here, you can say, hey, you grab the, why is it not? So we got the monster drop items being related to the what? To the table monster. But why is the table monster not showing? Okay. For some reason it don't want to show, and that's fine. That's not the only way to do it. There's other ways to do it too. And one of the, let me make sure I don't have one created. Okay, well, you can do it in a database diagram. And it'll add the constraint for you too this way if you don't, if you're not 100% familiar with everything. Now why is it not adding the monster table? Everything's broken, but it's okay. It's alright. We'll add the constraint later. We'll close that. Maybe that's why. Maybe because I had it open for editing and so it wasn't going to do nothing. But we can go down here to program. Nope. Go down here to tables. Monster drop items. Constraints. New constraint. No description. No expression. What is it saying? A blank constraint expression. It's being a booger. Okay. There's the description. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. I don't like it this way. This is... a pain in the neck. That's all it is. But you figure out how to get past all the errors when trying to add a constraint, and you can do it that way too. Alright, now I'm not real familiar adding it this way, outside of the initial declaration. So let's go look at some references here. And let's look at syntax. And usually S3 is good for this, if you can find a... S3 is really easy, see? Okay, that's what I did. Add constraint, and I gotta name the constraint. Let's see, we're gonna do, this is for which table? The table, this is, object. Or no, let's do, loot drop. Okay. And then we specify foreign key. We did alter table, add constraint, foreign key, monster ID, and it references this. So that'll, should be no reason why that doesn't work. And there we go. See how much easier that was? I know, right? But like I said, sometimes it's just hard to remember everything. There's so much to a database that for me it's hard to remember everything. So my best bet is just try to remember what I can and can't do, and then I could always use a reference to remind me of the exact syntax of it. You know, we all have our own workarounds. That's just mine. but it gets the job done. That's all that matters. So we come over here and we can look at the constraints. I know it's there. It's got to be there because I just added it. See, it's already there, so we know it's there. Why it's not showing, and it could just be my graphics card. It doesn't like to update, hence why you're not actually seeing any pictures. But I can guarantee if you load it into the game into your computer, it would work just fine. You'd see all the pictures and everything would look good and all that stuff. But it's just my graphics card just really stinks, and that's okay. Most of the time, it doesn't even want to refresh these views. Okay, so back to what we were doing. Alright, we got to insert in here into the table monster drop items. Let's insert the values here. What is it? Okay, so I don't remember that either. So let's select top 1,000 rows so we can get the column names. We'll come back over here. Game ID and monster ID. And that's it. And then the values is the game ID, which is the game item ID. I don't know why I named it that, but the game item ID is, it's all right here for us. The rat was number 1, and the item ID was that, and then I thought, nope, okay, anyways, I thought, but I didn't do it. Oh, this is the rat, and the rat was 2, not 1. And then okay, so what do we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we just got to add the giant spider. Let's see, 2, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, and it's 5 and 6. So 5 and 6. Now we're going to insert this into the table. Okay. I don't know why this conflicted with a foreign key constraint, but let's just press on, shall we? One of the things that we didn't get from here was the item drop. No. Oh, I am losing my mind. I think I'm just getting tired. This should not be that difficult. We've got the monsters loaded in. Well, we almost got the monsters loaded in. So let's load the monsters in. Okay. And then here, here we can use, based off of the monster ID that we send in, we can eliminate the entire switch statement. Blook, all gone. Any errors? Yes, one error. What is that error? Oh, not all codes return pass. So game data, database, and then this time, like I said, oops, return data. We've got sp get monster by ID, and then we got to do the new string. I'm making all kinds of mistakes here, and it's parameter names. Well, no, we don't have to specify that. All we have to do is come in here. If I can quit pushing the wrong keys. Alright, Chris, slow down a second. Get this, you got this. New string. And in this string, we're going to need a variable, and we're going to call it the monster ID. That's all we need for that variable. This one is going to be the value of that, which is going to be this value here. Monster ID. Okay. Why are you not liking that? Come on now. There we go. What's your problem? Can I speak for to string? Okay, that's why you didn't like it. Okay. Now, still haven't returned nothing, but here, let's do a data table. And I always use DT, I just always do. Equals new data table if DT equals is not equal, gee whiz, not equal to null. There we go. Let's add the using statement for data. So that goes away there. And so this is going to return this here. And I'll show you how we're doing this, because this will be our first one. It's going to be our first parameter we send to the table, but we're also going to return with another join table, so that kind of combines the basic elements of a relationship database. Select here from here, join this, where this is equal to this, give me that result set. And this will be our first full, both bi-directional communication with the server just saying, hey, send me all your stuff you got. This is going to say, hey, nitpick and come through and give me some of the stuff that I need. Alright. So if it's not equal to null, we need to go ahead and we're going to create a monster. Equals new monster. Okay, and then dt dot rows 0 0 dot to string, and that's going to take, because it's only going to return one row. You're not going to select multiple monsters when you're selecting by the monster ID. So it's always going to be row 0. And here I think you can actually specify, like earlier when we were trying to do the loop through and it wouldn't do it, but here you can actually specify the name that you want associated. So you can set it in, what do we know, monster name. So we can actually specify here monster name. It's still looking for many different things. And then we've got an image name. So let's copy this over, comma, and then image name. And that way, no matter what the order is, as long as it's in there, we could do a select all statement instead of just doing it this way, calling it by column names. We could do a select all, and no matter what the position of each one of these are, it will still work. And then we got maximum hit points. And then what's that next? Gold drop? Nope. Experience points. Oh, it is the next one. Whoops. Okay. See, maximum. Oh, current hit points is what we need. And anytime we load in, we're going to just load, every time we load a monster, we're just going to give him maximum hit points for that monster. And then we'll do the monster XP, and then the gold drop. So we'll add the gold drop there. And what are you not liking? Did I? What is it? Returns a string that represents current object. Oh, okay. So this is because this is expecting an int, isn't it? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, the last 4, and that's what's highlighted. Here we go. And then we can just come on the back end and add the closing parentheses. Like that. And that should like that and take that. And then something else that we've got to get from here is we need to get the loot items that the snake's going to loot. So we'll do another call. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create the data table, and I'm going to make it completely refresh to a new data table before we go in and call this. Now this is going to be a little different, and we're going to get the monster loot by ID. So we're going to add the word loot to this stored procedure so that we have it. And then we're going to go and delete all this because we're going to return more than one object, remember? I mean, looking here, we can see that we've got 2 items per mob that can drop with a percentage chance of it being dropped. So we're going to have more than one item. So we're going to go back into our for each loop. And voila, just that easy. Now we bring up our our value here, add loot item, and here we need to do this. Really, we need to come outside of here, and we need to create a new monster container. And then we can assign monster equal to this. Okay, we'll have to do a separate checking for that, but that's okay. Alright, now why did we do that? Because we need to be able to add loot item to the monster that we specify. Okay, never mind. We'll just do it all in one big container. We'll just be one happy family in this. Oh, you don't like this at all, do you? Okay. So this isn't gonna want to work out the way that I was hoping. So we can't nest these two if statements because we just can't. It's not gonna let us for some weird reason. There we go. It should let us nest now. What's the problem? Cannot fully convert. You didn't have a problem before. What's your problem now? Okay, let's back up here. Okay, are you liking this one now? We've created the monster container. We're getting this. You're not red no more. And then here we're going to do the row dot item array 0. And that's the item ID. That's going to be an integer. And that's why. There we go. And we'll. Yeah, we're going to have to specify that later because this is going to add all the loot items to the current monster. And I think that's it. Oh, we got to add a current weapon to the monster as well. And I think we should add it here. Right after this is where we need to add our monster weapon. And so let's take, yeah, it's going to be an integer because it's going off of the item ID, and then we need to add the monster weapon to it. There we go. Okay. And then this isn't snake, this is actually monster. There we go. That adds the weapon, stats, weapon, and drops to the monster. And I'll leave that there for reference just until we get done with it. And so now we're nested in that if statement. So if it's equal to null, I don't have to worry about this because it won't hit this if there ain't no value. Only if there's values here. But if there is no monster drops, this will return null, and it won't add no items to the monster. So we're good on that. Whew, it's getting tired. Oh, it's 8:30. No wonder I'm getting tired. All right. Let's create the stored procedure. Now, I'm just a big fanatic of stored procedures because it cuts down on writing time. It really does. So we're going to get the monster ID by the ID. The parameter we're going to use is going to be the monster ID. So we add the monster ID, and it's going to be an integer. And it's going to assign this value. I know it says to string, but it's not about how you send it, it's about how you read it in. And it's going to read it in as a number instead of a string. So even if I send it as a string, number, car, character, it's not going to make a difference because this is going to read. I'm telling it, it's an int, it's an integer, it's a number. It's got a value to it, a little weight, that sort of thing. And so that's how it's going to read it in anyways. Okay, so now we need to get all our monster information. And we can do that simply by having a brain fart. That's what we can do it by. Let's go to our tables, monster. We select the top 1,000 rows. Let's grab all this data here. No, we don't want to save. Let's paste it here. Okay, and we're going to say where monster ID is equal to at the monster ID. And this should have the monster name, image name, maximum HP, monster XP, the maximum HP for current, and the maximum, monster XP, the gold drop, the monster weapon. Here we don't need the location, so we can get rid of the location X and Y. And I don't think we input any encounter chances, so I think we're leaving that at 100. I think is what I set it to. Just automatically 100. But that's not in this screen anyways. Alright. And then when we're done, we just want to return monster. Just that simple. Okay, so we'll return monster inside the if statement. If not, we're going to return null. And that way we'll return it here and not here. And now I can change that to that. Since it's inside the if statement, because it's in the curly brackets. The items, whatever you create, any variable you create, unless it's specified as public or private, if it's public, but even so, it will not live outside these brackets, period. When you create a variable here, when it reaches the last bracket, or this bracket, or this bracket, wherever you declared it, it's not going to exist. And that's the same here. I'm creating it here, but when it reaches here, none of this is going to exist anymore. All of it's going to be gone. No value. No, it's going to equal null. Well, not even that much, because it won't even be created no more. It'll get the program will wipe it out of the memory completely. But the values we send away out of the function, because we're returning a value, now the values will continue living on in another variable somewhere else in the game. And that's why we've got the game session, is because this is just never stops running. It's like a big loop that never stops running. So everything that all your variables you want to keep, maintain, you'll go out to other classes, you'll gather that stuff, and you'll store it safely in that loop so that you don't lose it. But you can drop everything else so that you can free up memory. You don't want a memory hog. I mean, who likes to play a game that lags and uses up all your computer's resources, right? So we don't want all that. But this is all we need here for this one. And it's very, very simple. We press F5, it completes, we're good to go. Body. Now we're going to modify this one. No, we're not. We're going to close it out. We're going to start over. And the reason why is because I want to. Is that good enough? I hope so. Alright. So come in here. Oops. I'm going to blame y'all instead. Y'all didn't catch me on that. We're also going to look it up by monster ID. And we only need one value right now. We only need one value. And that value is going to be, what is that value going to be? The item ID, which is yeah. Select item ID from this table, and we're going to left join the table game items, and I'm going to call this the MDI, monster drop items, and this one I'm going to call the GI. We're going to do it MDI dot on MDI dot game ID equal to GI dot item ID. Wait, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that, do we? Because I have the game ID stored in my monster drop items. I don't have anything stored in my monster drop items. So all I need to do is retrieve the game IDs as of right now. So we won't even need that, because we're going to store the game IDs, which I need to change that to game item, but too little too late. There we go. And voila, that's done. Now we don't even have we haven't added any. I thought we did, but I guess we don't have any items that we've because we haven't actually added them yet. Now they've been added. So now when we run this, there they are. Okay, so let's give it a whirl. Let's see if it's going to work. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows, right? The way it's been going today, probably not. So we wait for it to crash to see what I forgot. Alright, you defeated the snake, you got 5 experience points, you got 1 gold, and we received a snake skin. So there we go. It looks like I got it right on the first time. Now the chance percentage isn't right. We've got to add chance percentage in to make sure that that's good. But I think this is a good stopping point for today. So what we've accomplished so far is we've added the monsters, the monster drop items, the monster weapons, the world, and all the items we get from our database now. And so that's a awesome start. Not 100% completed, but it is a good way of heading. So anyways, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good night.